podcast is brought to you by Daba, your most comprehensive platform for investing in African stocks, bonds, and managed funds. You can download the Daba app on your favorite Google and Apple app stores. Let's start with some very good news. The BRVM just delivered a clearly positive week, confirming a strong rebound in investor confidence across the regional market. Between Monday, February 6th and Friday, February 6th, the West African Stock Exchange posted solid gains across its main indices, several standout performances among listed companies, and continued investor interest in the bond market as a source of stability. Let's begin with the market's main thermometer. The BRVM Composite Index, which tracks all listed stocks, rose by 2.07% over the week, closing at 372.49 points. Put simply, this means that, on average, stocks across the market increased in value. For investors, this is an important signal. It shows that the market is in a buying phase and that risk appetite is gradually returning. The BRVM 30 index, which follows the 30 most liquid and representative stocks, also advanced, rising by just over 1% to close at 175.68 points. Meanwhile, the BRVM Prestige index, often seen as a benchmark for blue-chip stocks, gained 1.53% to reach 152.42 points. For long-term investors, the fact that all three indices moved higher together suggests a broad-based rally rather than a narrow or speculative one. However, there is an important nuance to understand. While prices increased, trading volumes declined. Total shares traded during the week fell to just under 9.7 million, compared with more than 15.5 million the previous week. The total value of transactions also declined, settling at around 5.0 billion francs CFA. What does this mean for investors? It suggests that the current market rally is driven more by selective conviction than by widespread enthusiasm. In other words, investors are buying, but they are doing so carefully and strategically. Let's now turn to the stocks that defined the week. Market performance was clearly dominated by gains. A total of 34 stocks moved higher, while only 10 declined. This imbalance reflects a market that is structurally oriented toward accumulation. The most striking performance of the week came from Sonoco Metal Packaging Siam Côte d'Ivoire. The stock surged by more than 38%, closing at approximately 2,205 francs CFA. This is an exceptional move over a single week. Such sharp increases are often driven by renewed speculative interest, sometimes linked to expectations around earnings, corporate developments, or sudden repositioning by investors. For investors, this is a reminder of a key principle. Rapid price increases can offer opportunities, but they also require strict risk management. The second-best weekly performance was recorded by Sikable Côte d'Ivoire. The stock gained more than 25% to reach around 3,775 francs CFA. This reflects renewed interest in industrial stocks, which are often seen as indirect beneficiaries of regional economic recovery and infrastructure investment. Unilever Côte d'Ivoire completed the top three, rising by more than 25% to close at 58,265 francs CFA. This is a strong signal. Investors are clearly rotating back into large, defensive stocks known for financial strength and consistent cash generation. For individual investors, this suggests that the market is not only chasing speculative gains, but is also rewarding quality and resilience. On the downside, some stocks recorded notable declines. Citap Côte d'Ivoire posted the steepest weekly drop, falling by about 9% to close at 20,000 francs CFA. This decline was mainly driven by profit-taking after several months of strong performance. It was also influenced by expectations of lower provisional earnings for the 2025 financial year. For investors, this is an important reminder. Even fundamentally strong stocks can correct after extended rallies. Or Group Côte d'Ivoire also declined by more than 6%, while Sodacy fell by just over 4%. These moves illustrate a market that is actively repricing assets based on earnings outlooks, sector risks, and valuation levels. Let's now shift to the bond market, often considered the stabilizing anchor of diversified portfolios. Over the week, bond market capitalization edged slightly lower, declining by around 0.16% to approximately 11,814 billion francs CFA. This modest decline does not undermine the overall attractiveness of the fixed income segment. Trading activity, however, slowed noticeably. Total bond market turnover fell to about 1.9 billion francs CFA, compared with more than 3.4 billion the previous week. This suggests that investors are taking a more cautious and selective approach, reassessing maturities and yield levels. Most bond market activity was concentrated in a single sovereign issue with an intermediate maturity, equivalent to a 7-year to 8-year bond. More than 125,000 bonds were traded, representing a value of approximately 1.25 billion francs CFA. This single bond accounted for nearly two-thirds of total bond market turnover for the week. For investors, the message is clear. Sovereign bonds offering a balanced mix of maturity and yield remain highly attractive. Why does this matter for you? Because in an environment where equity markets are rising but remain selective, bonds continue to play a critical role. They provide visibility, predictable income streams, and help stabilize portfolios during periods of uncertainty. Looking ahead to the coming week, several opportunities are emerging. The equity market is likely to remain supported by improving confidence, though investors will remain focused on earnings releases, valuation discipline, and liquidity conditions. Certain segments are showing encouraging signals from both a fundamental and flow perspective. On the bond side, intermediate maturities continue to offer an attractive risk-return balance for investors seeking stability. Identifying these opportunities, knowing where to position, and understanding how to allocate between equities and bonds requires high-quality information. That is exactly where Daba Pro comes in. Daba Pro gives you access to in-depth analysis, curated investment opportunities, and a clear reading of BRVM market dynamics. With Daba Pro, you do not simply follow the market. You make informed decisions aligned with your long-term wealth goals. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Daba Markets Talk podcast. We'll be back next week with another update. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating, follow us, and share with friends. Remember, this information is for educational purposes. Always do your own research or consult with a financial advisor before making investment decisions. And download the Daba app on your App Store to start investing in African stocks, bonds, and manage portfolios through your phone and find other helpful content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing your financial knowledge.